Hello, and thanks for joining me today on Simply Saturday. Today, we're making a fast and easy card that I think you're going to want to recreate. So, follow along and stamp with me, or watch this video and then get all your supplies out and make one of these. I'm going to be showing you a fun technique. This actually was kind of inspired by a card previously, okay? You would have seen this layout made on one of my other videos, and all of a sudden I was thinking, let's do this, but with no designer series paper and no die cuts. All right, so today we're only using ink, stamps, and paper. My name is Julie, and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. All right, we're going to begin with a piece of cardstock that's 4 inches by 5 1/4. This is the regular weight. This is basic white cardstock. And then I am going to put it on a base of Highland Heather. I have not used Highland Heather in a while. It's kind of fun to pull out purple every now and then. This piece is 5 1/2 inches by 8 1/2 inches, folded and scored and folded at 4 1/4 inches. How many of you just love purple? All right, so we're going to get started. Like I said, this was kind of in mind by that other card, but I wanted to simplify it and just get the idea of it. So we're going to have a blank space in the middle here where our sentiment is going to go, but we're going to do a splash of stamping around it. And this is how we're going to do it. I am using some masking paper. Now, Stampin' Up! Sells a package of masking paper. The current price for the package is only $7. Masking paper is a lot like a Post-it, but it is sticky all over it. Now, I've cut this sheet down. It started out larger. I've cut this sheet down to, let me remember, 2 1/4 inches by 3 1/2 inches. So back to the masking paper. It's very thin. It's sticky like a Post-it note, so it is repositionable. But it's very, very, very thin. I feel like it's even thinner than a Post-it note. What would not work well is if you took a piece of cardstock or even copy paper and used it for our little mask in the middle. It would be too thick and you would get a strange edge all the way around, the way that I'm going to show you this technique today. So the masking paper is pretty critical to this project. Now, you're welcome to use Post-it notes, but again, they are, either small rectangles or larger squares, and you're going to have to figure out the sizing. With the masking paper, cut it to size. So I'm going to eyeball this and try to get it in the center of my white piece. Again, I can lay it down and move it if I need to. I think it needs to go a little bit to the right. So let's try a second time. My top and bottom look good. So try not to change that. All right, I think we're going to go with that. It looks pretty straight. Probably if I was stamping and not filming at the same time, I would be a little bit pickier with getting it straight. I don't want to take up too much time. So this third effort is going to be the last one. And we're going to go with it. All right, there we have it. Now, what we want to do is completely stamp and fill all of the edges, and we're going to be stamping onto the masking paper and onto the paper. That is the goal. All right. The reason we want to do that is once we pull the masking paper off and reveal our blank white rectangle, we want it to look really, really full. The frame around our white rectangle is going to be really full. So here we go. I am using stamps from Endless Love. It is available as a bundle, stamps and coordinating dies, but we're not using any of the dies for today's card. I chose Poppy Parade for my red ink, and I am going to start stamping. Again, I want it on the masking paper and on the cardstock. Now, sometimes the masking paper is a little bit of a glossy feel, so you do want to be careful that you don't start smearing things as you go. So just be careful with your fingers and with your stamps and ink as you go, and keep that in mind. Now, I want this really close to the next one, but angled maybe a little bit. And we're going to continue working our way around. We're going to go all the way around with these hearts. I'm just going to turn my paper so I don't have to turn my stamp. And also this keeps it within your view. Now, a couple little white spaces in between are fine because we're going to use a second stamp to finish filling in. But you can see that I'm going very close together. All right, this is where you could start smearing. You've got ink down here. We're working our way around, so being a little bit careful. I also found with this particular stamp, you don't want to rush. Let me grab a scrap paper and I'll show you what I'm talking about. If you find that you try to rush with this stamp, you're going to get some images that don't look very good, or maybe even some partial ones. Of course, that's not happening now. So I'm just saying, be very careful that you take the time to press and hold the stamp for a moment before lifting. Of course, I had a lot more problems with that earlier, and now not so much. All right, I'm going to bring this one pretty, I guess I want this one on the corner. So got a little bit of a space here. That's fine. We're going to use our second stamp to continue to fill that in. And I don't even mind going over that one. That's fine. Let's go out a little bit higher. And I think we'll do one more on this corner. Okay, now right now it kind of looks like a mess, but that's okay. This is what we want, I promise. All right, we're back to where we started, and now I'm going to change ink colors and change stamps. So now I've got the kisses, the 2 X's, and I have my bubble bath ink pad. These I'm going to just sneak right into any spaces that look kind of white. And you will be stamping somewhat over some of your hearts. And I'm going to angle them at different angles as well. All right, you can see how my pink is filling in. I almost want no white space showing on my masking paper. Now, because I'm stamping over my pink and my red, I'm going to take a moment and clean my stamp and then continue, just because I don't want to transfer possibly some of that red ink where I don't mean it to. This area looks pretty full, but I will stick one right in here. All right, now we've got a nice big spot right there. Let's make sure that we put our X's right there. And maybe at an angle here. Let's do the same thing there. Coming around to this side. And we're doing pretty good. We don't really have any smears on our white cardstock, so we are being just careful enough. And we're back around to where we started. This was a big spot, so I think I'm going to take the chance and even put a little bit more pink right in there, because I had some white right here that I wanted to cover. All right, at that point now, we're getting ready to remove the masking paper and do the reveal. We are going to do one more step. You can do this step right now at this point while the masking paper is still on there, or you can pull the paper off and do it. It doesn't matter. So since our paper is there, we're on a roll. I'm going to go ahead with the final stamping step and just leave my masking paper in place. All right, now with Highland Heather, I want these little dots. These are like confetti or sprinkles. I want them kind of shooting out from the middle of this, and I don't want any of this on my masking paper. So this is all coming out from the design that we just created, but not on the masking paper. And we're just putting a few of them. We don't need a bunch of these. It's a tiny little accent as we go around. And at the end, we will eyeball it and see if we think we need any more. But right now, we're just going to sprinkle these about. Okay, coming around. Let's go here and here. We'll see if we think it needs one there after we get a final look. This spot looks like it needs some. All right, I think at that point we're going to stop. And once we remove the masking paper, we'll decide if we need any more of those Highland Heather dots. All right, so we're carefully going to remove the masking paper. And we have a lovely, crisp white rectangle right there in the middle with all of our little heart and kiss elements kind of exploding out of that negative space. Kind of fun. All right, let's put our words in the middle. I am going to put Happy Valentine's Day on this. And because the word Valentine's is the largest of the stamps, I definitely want it centered. I am going to start with it. And I'm going to aim for center top to bottom and center right to left. We'll see how that goes. And we'll come in with, I think we'll stick with our Highland Heather since that's a little bit different instead of just using the red and the pink. Let's continue and let's do happy and day. Looks like Valentine's could have been a little bit straighter. I'm sure you'll do better than I did. All right, super cute and very different. It kind of makes you wonder how in the world we got that beautiful little frame design, and only you know that it was the magic of the masking paper. All right, let's go ahead and add this to that Highland Heather base. Very, very fast and easy, but kind of an interesting technique for you today. Now I'm going to show you one more card that was done with this exact same technique and stamps, but with less product. So instead of having a separate card base and our white cardstock layer on top, like we did on this one, which I really am liking this, instead of doing that, you could just make this card on a white card base. So let me show you that one. This is a thick white cardstock base, 5.5 inches by 8.5, scored and folded at 4.25. I used my masking paper rectangle and did the exact same technique that you just watched me do on our card, but this does not require another piece of cardstock. This is the card itself. So either way, you can do it like this or like this, but what a fun way to create that white image, that white blank space in the middle with the framed image around it. Thanks so much for watching. I will be putting some information for you below this video in the drop-down box. I always include a link to my blog where you can find even more information like the measurements and the colors and all the different products that I used in each project. And I invite you also to leave me your thoughts and comments. I love hearing from you, and I respond to all comments. I will see you next time, and until then, happy stamping.